many slender tentacles into which the crinoid arms branched were infinitely delicate, flexible, strong, and accurate in muscular nervous coordination, ensuring the utmost skill and dexterity in all artistic and other manual operations. The toughness of the things was almost incredible. Even the terrific presence of the deepest sea bottoms appeared powerless to harm them. Very few seemed to die at all except by violence, and their burial places were very limited. The fact that they covered their vertically inhumed dead with five-pointed inscribed mounds set up thoughts in Danforth and I, which made a fresh pause and recuperation necessary after the sculptures revealed it. The beings multiplied by means of spores, like vegetable pteridophytes, as Lake had suspected, but owing to their prodigious toughness and longevity. And consequent lack of replacement needs, they did not encourage the large-scale development of new prothali except when they had new regions to colonize. The young matured swiftly and received an education evidently beyond any standard we can imagine. The prevailing intellectual and aesthetic life was highly evolved and produced a tenaciously enduring set of customs and institutions, which I shall describe more fully than in my coming monograph. These varied slightly according to sea or land residents, but had the same foundations and essentials. Though able, like vegetables, to derive nourishment from inorganic substances, they vastly preferred organic and especially animal food. They ate on uncooked marine life under the sea, but cooked their viands on land. They hunted game and raised meat herds, slaughtering with sharp weapons, whose odd marks on certain fossil bones our expedition had noticed. They resisted all ordinary temperatures marvelously in their natural state, could live in water down to freezing. When the great chill of the Pliocene drew on, however, nearly 100 million years ago, the land dwellers had to resort to special measures, including artificial heating, until at last the deep, deadly cold appears to have driven them back into the sea. For their prehistoric flights through cosmic space, legend said they had absorbed certain chemicals and became almost independently of eating, breathing, or heat conditions, but by the time of the Great Cold, they had lost track of the method. In any case, they could not have prolonged the artificial state indefinitely without harm. Being non-pairing and semi-vegetable in structure, the old ones had no biological basis for the family phase of mammal life, but seemed to organize large households in the principles of comfortable space utility. And as we deduced from the pictured occupations and diversions of co-dwellers, congenial mental association. In furnishing their homes, they kept everything in the center of the huge rooms, leaving all the wall spaces free for decorative treatment. Lighting, in case of the land inhabitants, was accomplished by a device probably electrochemical in nature. Both on land and underwater, they had used curious tables, chairs, and couches with like cylindrical frames. For they rested and slept upright with folded down tentacles, and racks for the hinges, sets of doubted surfaces forming their books. Government was evidently complex and probably socialistic. though no certainties in this regard could be deduced from the sculptures we saw. There was extensive commerce, both local and between different cities. Certain small, flat counters, 5-pointed and inscribed, serving as money. Probably the smaller of the various green soapstones founded by our expedition were pieces of such currency. Though the culture was mainly urban, some agriculture and much stock raising existed. Mining and an unlimited amount of manufacturing were also practiced. Travel was also very frequent, and permanent migration seemed relatively rare except for the vast colonizing and movements by which the race expanded. For personal locomotion, no external aid was used, since in land, air, and water movement, alike the old ones seemed to possess excessively vast capacities for speed. Loads, however, were drawn by beasts of burden, shoggoths under the sea, and a curious variety of primitive vertebrates in the later years of land existence. These vertebrates, as well as an infinity of other life forms, animal and vegetable, marine, terrestrial, and aerial, were the products of unguided evolution acting on life cells made by the old ones, but escaping beyond their radius of attention. They had been suffered to develop unchecked because they had not come in conflict with the dominant beings. Bothersome forms, of course, were mechanically exterminated. It interested us to see in some of the very last and most decadent sculptures of shambling primitive mammals used sometimes for food and sometimes as an amusing buffoon by the land dwellers. Some vaguely simian and human foreshadowings were unmistakable. In the building of land cities, the huge stone blocks of those high towers were generally lifted by vast winged pterodactyls of a species heretofore unknown to paleontology. The persistence with which the old ones survived various geologic changes and convulsions of the Earth's crust was little short of miraculous. Though few or none of the first cities seem to have remained beyond the Archaean age, there was no interruption in their civilization or in the transmission of their records. The original place of advent to the planet was the Antarctic Ocean, and it is likely that they came not long after the matter formed the moon was wrenched from the neighboring South Pacific. According to the sculptures maps, the whole globe was then underwater, with stone cities scattered farther and farther from the Antarctic as eons passed. Another map shows a vast bulk of dry land around the South Pole, where it is evident that some of the beings made experimental settlements, though their main centers were transferred to the near sea bottom. Later maps, which display this land masses crackling and drifting and sending certain detached parts northward, uphold in a striking way the theories of continental drift, later advanced by Taylor, Wegener, and Jolly.